Alright fellas, here we are back in Pokemon Masters, and tomorrow we're going to get a release of the Dark and Ghost Week Dark and Ghost High Score event, alongside the double feature PokeFair Scout with Signa Cyrus and Akari. It has been two years and some change since Signa Cyrus' initial debut. No, 3 years. Was it? No, it was 2 years, right? It was 2 years. Fucking nuts, man. It took them this long just to rerun this unit. Him and Signa Leon were fighting for dear life for that position. Did Cyrus take him over? I don't know. Whatever. Point is, we're getting Akari and Cyrus. Cyrus got his EX roll and his expanded grid, and Akari's first ever rerun. And honestly, all things considered, besides the fact that we got Bianca and Sharon, right, you know, those big master fairs up right now, I would say that this is pretty good value. Like, Akari's still really good, Cyrus is still good, and the upgrades he got with the EX roll and the grid expansion are pretty solid as well. I do think these characters could be worth going for if you really need, like, a dark, you know, to beef up your dark characters or something like that. So I guess let's just go ahead and hop into it. So, Akari, Insui, and Samurott released back in October of 2023, alongside Ray, and they're good. They're a great damage-dealing character. They're a field sync pair with the Striker EX roll. Looking at her stats, she's got a level 146 star EX, 401 attack, 219 defense, 207 special defense, 312 speed, 765 health. With the EX roll for Striker, her attack does go up quite a bit, as well as the HP, and then level 150, of course, you know, increases that even further. Very respectable stats all around. Nothing crazy in the offenses, but still definitely really good. Will be satisfactory. Her main form of her damage option consists of Ceaseless Edge, which is a 4-gauge, 160 power move at 1 out of 5, with 192 power at 5 out of 5. Targets one opponent, has 90 accuracy, which will bite you in the ass more times than not. Crits land more easily, applies dark damage field to the opponent's field of play, and the dark damage field basically makes the enemy take damage of the dark typing whenever they move, right? It's like Stealth Rocks and that type of thing. So, easy crits, that's neat, whatever. Mainly just a dark damage option, 176 power, that's pretty respectable. Potions, 2 uses, 40% HP healing, right? This is just basic stuff. Potions can be useful in the Legendary Gauntlet, can be useful in pretty much literally any content in the game. I think they mostly excel in, like, solos and duos for the Gauntlet, but of course, you know, just in general, potions are always really, really nice to have, even on Strikers, right? She's got her move here, her buddy move, Top Performer Ceaseless Edge, which is a 2-gauge move, 200 minimum base power. It never misses. Yep. The activation condition is when dark damage field applies to the opponent's field of play. Deactivation condition is when the field of play is no longer a dark damage field. This is the big gimmick of this move, is that you do need to maintain the dark damage field, which there's some caveats, of course, to that. The move never misses, except in circumstances, the attack becomes guaranteed crits. This move's power increased when used successfully in succession. Whatever the fuck it's used successfully. When successfully used in succession, there we go. Yeah, that took a little bit. The move's power is powered up by 20% every time it's used. Maximum power up is 60%. If a different move is used by the user's Pokemon, the power returns to normal. Okay. So, basically what this means is that it is a build-up effect, where you use the Ceaseless Edge, then the next one will do 20% more damage. Then it does another 20%, and it keeps going until it has reached its maximum power of 60% extra power on top of its 220 base multiplier, and then you keep, you know, using it, and it will keep doing that, you know, maximum 60% extra power on what it's got, right? The biggest caveat is that this move is deactivated whenever the dark damage field is no longer activated. Damage fields do not last forever, and they do not last extremely long either. They're not like... There's not even really many field effects that last forever, or any effects in the game that last forever. It's not like Thunderbolt Red's Field EX roll electric terrain, right? It doesn't last uber long. So that is something you have to consider, and that is the big caveat to this move, is that eventually dark damage field will run out. You will have to reset it with Ceaseless Edge, and then you'll be reset back down to your base power here for Top Performer Ceaseless Edge, because it says that if a move is used by different moves used by the Pokemon, the power returns to normal, right? So you got to deal with that caveat. Good thing about that, though, is that this does not apply to trainer moves because it specifically mentions the Pokemon. So using potions and using her trainer move will not reset the power of Ceaseless Edge. top performance Ceaseless Edge, which is good, for sure. And then speaking of the trainer move, Mutual Understanding, turns the field of play into a Dark Zone, raises an ally's speed by 4, increases the physical and special moves next of an ally by 2. This does give her a good supportive role, and of course setting Dark Zone again outside of just the Field EX role is good too. So there we go, more Dark Zone, very nice. In her passive skills, she's got the Survey Core Teaching, grants the following effects when the user enters a battle. Each battle reduces her sync countdown by 1, raises attack by 4, and crit by 3. Extremely good self-sufficiency, good sync countdown, allows for sync ramping, allows for, setups that don't need a support or anything like that. It basically makes her very versatile. This is great, especially being on entry. This is also good for like the Battle Rally, used to be the Battle Viola, whatever, right, where you obviously now don't need a support or anything, so you're just fully self-sufficient from a passive skill. Use this as many times as you want. Quick Tempo, applies gauge acceleration on entry, and Critical Strike 2 with 20% multiplier for, critical damage, right? And at 1 out of 5, that's pretty much all she's got, right? She can do some pretty solid damage, again, right, with her maximum offensive prowess, 459 attack, 200 base power move here. You do have to keep resetting that damage field, which does suck, and that does hinder her damage a little bit, but overall, for the most part, Akari still can do some pretty good damage at 1 out of 5, and she does have the double setting for Dark Zone from the field sync move and from the trainer move here, right? But also got to consider, using the sync move, you're not getting too much damage out of it because her only multiplier is Critical Strike 2, so you've got to consider the damage on her sync move may not be the highest. That's just something to deal with, right? But I mean, overall, not a bad 1 out of 5 kit, though I do think she will want some investment of varying degrees. At 2 out of 5, Akari gets Dark Damage Field on opponent, speed up 9, raising her speed whenever attacking an enemy in Dark Damage Field. This could be good for some gauge efficiency, but for the most part, I think this might be stuck to a Gauntlet ability, and even then, I don't think it's that great for the Gauntlet. I've tried it, it's not that fantastic of a node. Natural Remedy, she's got Potion, Master Healer, and NPR, obviously pretty useful just in general. Not really great for her damage increase, but of course good for some utility. Umbrella Acceleration, Dark Damage Field, Attack Damage Reduction, Gobsmack, these are very generic abilities. A little bit of Gauge Acceleration here, a little bit of damage reduction here, some confusion as well, right, for some gimmick check and whatever else, but overall nothing really too much to help out what she wants, which is pretty much to be able to increase her damage, her nuke, and I guess just better utility. I guess Gobsmack comes somewhat close, but for the most part, that's just basically deactivating a few passive skills, right? Which can be good, but most sync pairs come equipped with this anyway. And now at 3 out of 5, she gets Dark Zone Sync moves up, Dark Damage Field Extension 3, Sync Nodes, Haymaker, Dark Damage Field on opponent moves up 3, Sync Burst, Fierce Entry, Trainer Move NPR, Dark Damage Field, free moves next 4. Okay. Definitely quite good nodes. Haymaker and Dark Zone Sync moves up 5, gives her 150% in total nuking multipliers, on top of the Critical Strike 2 for 170%. Plus, of course, you can run Critical Strike 2 or whatever as her base lucky skill, giving you nearly 200% in total nuking multipliers. Relatively respectable nuke for a strike field character. She'll be fine, right? She's going to be doing decent damage, and it's going to make your sync move look a lot more appealing, on top of the fact that you also get extended Dark Zone from it. So that's good. Dark Damage Field Extension, this is probably one of the most crucial nodes she gets, because having that Damage Field Extension is good for anything. It is great for the Gauntlet, it is good for Stadium, it is good for Battle Rally, good for Ultimate Battles, all that stuff. It is an amazing node. This will make it so you have to use Ceaseless Edge a little bit less, and you get the most damage you can out of the top performer Ceaseless Edge, because I'm pretty sure I remember last time I tried using Akari for her 1 out of 5 showcase, the Dark Damage Field would go down before you could even get in that last hit with Ceaseless Edge, so you weren't even getting the full power up, right? Which really does suck. So having the extension is extremely helpful. The only thing is that this is not an Extension 5 node, it is an Extension 3 node, but it's still good. I would say this is pretty much always going to be a pickup. Dark Damage Field on opponent moves up 3. This gives you a 30% multiplier when attacking enemies that are affected by Dark Damage Field. This will be another good multiplier for Ceaseless Edge. This will be maximizing her damage further. Overall, something that's probably going to be worthwhile going for her, as she is a damage-oriented character. Of course, she does have potions and some utility with the trainer move, but for the most part, you are probably going to be trying to do a lot of damage with her, so having these multipliers is going to be helpful for that too. By the way, this is pretty much the generic grid I run for Akari. I think I changed this around a little bit. I don't remember. I don't remember exactly what the grid was I built for Akari, but I know that it was... It had all this stuff, but it didn't cost any extra energy. I just kind of forget. Was it that? No. Definitely not that. Trust. Oh, yeah, right. I guess it was close to that. You know, -3 energy, that's fine. Sure. Oh, wait, train with NPR. I'm an idiot. Okay. 4 energy, there you go. You're good, right? This pretty much covers all your bases. This covers what you need. I would probably build this grid, because accuracy on Ceaseless Edge is annoying. I know it's 90% accuracy, but trust me, you're gonna miss this, and it's gonna be infuriating every single time. Always is for me. Even when I'm not even using Akari that much, she misses, it annoys me. Get this accuracy note, please, for everyone's sake. But outside of all of the damage stuff that she has up here, because this is a pretty generic grid you can run for her, it's just all damage stuff. It's all good too, right, to pick up. She does have other stuff, which does help out her utility. Sync Burst is really good for the extra physical and special moves, next buffs, and the trainer move on top of the Dark Zone, of course, and the speed buffs as well. I definitely see quite a bit of value in this in the Gauntlet, and I do see a bit of use of it in a longer battle format as well, if you can, you know, sacrifice some of this stuff and maintain Akari sustainability. And of course, it's even better if you're going to go for potions, because they're already right here. And then she's also got other stuff here, like Train with NPR if you want to go for that instead of Sync Burst, if you want to go for the RNG, or if maybe the free moves next if you really need Gauge, though Akari does not struggle that much with Gauge, in my opinion, so I don't really see too much use for this. She already applies speed bust to herself, she can get to +6 with Sync Burst. I think she'll be fine. For the most part, I think the nodes that you're really going to be looking at are all the top ones here, and probably Sync Burst and the potion stuff, depending on if you're going to be going for like the Gauntlet or some specific battle that might need more healing or longer sustainability, I guess. At 4 out of 5, she gets Soften Up 1 and Entry Freebie. Entry Freebie is pretty much fodder. Soften Up 1's fine. I mean, in longer battles where you're going to be, you know, trying to crit and the sync as much as possible, this could be good. But for the most part, I don't see as much use in this. You can invest +6 energy and still maintain the ability to pick up everything else. You will be missing out on that accuracy note, of course, but, oh, actually, no, you can build this. Okay, +4 energy, you can build this grid here, and I guess this can work. If you want to go for the Soften Up 1, you can. If you want to guarantee that crit, if you do go for all, you know, the striker sync, right? You know, hitting 3 enemies and having the guarantee to crit on all of them and not miss a crit is pretty decent. And then 5 out of 5, she gets Dark Damage Field, opponent, special defense, and defense down, lowering both defenses when attacking an enemy in Dark Damage Field. This can be useful as well. It does help with her mixed offensive ability as well. So if you are trying to fight, or trying to use her alongside other like special attacking characters or like just a mixed team comp, you'll be able to provide damage enhancement for both herself and your special attacking ally. And of course, you know, if you're running her and just on a physical set, you're lowering defense as well, so you're getting the extra damage up there as well. So being able to debuff both defenses is nice, could be useful in the high score event that she's like, you know, intended for. That's also a big thing for the potion stuff as well, is that she is able to be helpful for team sustainability with that. I'm going to assume that's probably going to be pretty decent in the high score event. I could be wrong, you know, whatever. And then she's got Mighty Rush, increasing physical moves next by 1 after the sync move. That's pretty much also fodder. I mean, I wouldn't really look into these nodes too much. Pretty much everything's up here, and then you got these. And that's really all I got to say about Akari. Overall, she's a very solid damage-dealing character with the ability to set Dark Zone as her main utility. The physical and special moves next buffing could be good for some burst damage. The potions are very good for team sustainability. And overall, I mean, she's very self-sufficient too. What more could you ask for a damage-dealing field character? I would say not much, so that is nice. Moving on to Cygnus and Cyrus, the guy who hasn't rerun in fucking way too long, or rerun ever, I guess, other than the mixed cap. That's nice. At least I think so. Pretty sure he didn't rerun. Anyway, whatever. So Cyrus here at level 146 to REX, he's got 488 special attack, 410 speed, 211 special defense, 211 physical defense, 740 HP. All good stuff. I also just realized I get to showcase Cyrus tomorrow for free. Or not tomorrow, but eventually, with the Field DX roll, because I do plan on investing that. Anyway, whatever. And with level 150 and the Field DX roll, his stats do quite a bit. He's got very respectable defenses, very good HP, over 500 special attack, over 470 speeds, really good as a speed tier as well. These are very good stats across the board, I would say, for a tech character. W, we'll take that. That's nice. Could afford for some higher defenses for actual bulk, but I mean, still, that's definitely good enough, especially with what he's meant to do. Cyrus's main gimmick, by the way, Tech Field, anyway, Cyrus's main gimmick is being a sleep setter with Dark Void. He is a sleep spammer. He targets all enemies, 80 accuracy with Dark Void. This is the biggest problem. Well, not really the biggest problem because he busts his accuracy, but like this is a problem you'll probably face is that he's got that 80 accuracy thing on Dark Void, so you really want to go for those accuracy buffs as soon as possible, which could be a little bit annoying for trying to get early turn denials or early sleeps or whatever in. So try and get those accuracy buffs, as quick as possible so that you don't have to really worry too much about Dark Void's potential misses. But it's not really that big of a deal, and it does hit all enemies at base, so you don't really have to rely on like Go Viral or anything like that to activate. Though really Go Viral would actually probably be better, but whatever. Dark Wish, he was the first Dark Zone setter, so he's got Dark Wish. Pretty cliche stuff, but this does give him 3 total sets of Dark Zone if you do invest in the Field DX roll, so that is really good. Just a 1 out of 5, getting 3 sets of the Dark Zone. Dark Pulse, 20% flinch chance, DPS option, 3 gauge move. Will this be used? For the most part, a lot of higher tier content has like resilience and sleep immunity and that type of stuff. So Dark Void does take quite a bit of a hit there, but for the most part, you can. In other content, you mostly just can spam Dark Void and get what you want out of Cyrus and just kind of nuke them with a sync nuke, because it is also a pretty good nuke. You don't really touch Dark Pulse that much, but I feel in the content like the high score event and obviously ultimate battles and whatnot, Dark Pulse may get quite a bit more usage, especially if you pick up aggravation in the grid, so that you actually have another way of turn denying without relying on sleep, and you've actually also got DPS with Cyrus. But I don't know, either way, Dark Pulse having a DPS option is nice, so we'll take that. Perpetual Nightmare raises special attack by 2, raises accuracy and crit by 1, self-sufficiency, not too shabby. Does want that turn with NPR, but that's fine. Or support, of course, too. And then the innate nuke, he's got attack power increased in Dark Zone, pretty basic, pretty much expected. In the passive skills, he's got Sync Snooze, putting all enemies to sleep after using a sync move. This could be good, could be used as like a safety net or something, just in case, you fail that Dark Void, enemies wake up, right before Cyrus sinks, then you put them back to sleep. I guess that's pretty much how it's intended, I'm gonna assume. Then Bad Break 9, this is a fun ability. 100% chance of lowering one of the following stats of all opposing sync pairs whenever the user's Pokemon uses a status move, and it's one of the 7 stats besides crit, right? This is very, very nice. I love this node. If you've even been remotely interested in the Legendary Gauntlet or something like that, this node is just so fun. You pretty much just spam Dark Void with gauge management in mind, right? And you just debuff attack, defense, special defense, speed, accuracy, and evasion. That's pretty much where a lot of Cyrus's shit comes from. Aside from the sleep spam, right? The debuffs are so, what would you call it? They're crippling. They're so crippling to the enemy. It's crazy. But whatever. Accuracy is one of the big ones, of course. They can't hit them. And then Shared Nightmare deals damage to all opposing sync pairs that are asleep when the Pokemon uses a move. This additional damage is not affected by some status changes. This is kind of like a damage field thing. Not in the terms of amount of damage the enemies take, it's kind of like damage field. It does not do a lot of damage at all, but it is chip damage on using Dark Void pretty much. That's it. That's really all there is. Yeah, you use Dark Void, the enemies take some damage from Shared Nightmare here, and also, of course, upon using Dark Void, you get that Bad Break, so you're getting debuffs, the enemies are taking chip damage, and you're basically just able to spam Dark Void and keep them asleep. This is especially, those are words. This is especially apparent in duos or any 3v3 content where Cyrus's pretty much only role, aside from setting Dark Zone, is to just spam Dark Void, keep the enemies asleep, debuff them, make them take chip damage, and empower other allies again with Dark Zone. It's really fun. It's a great strategy too. It works out very well. If you want to research Cygnus Cyrus's, Legendary Gauntlet shit or his Stadium shit, then you can really see what I mean there. He just Dark Void away. Gotta love it. 1 out of 5, he gets pretty much nothing. Dark Wish move gauge refresh, I guess. 2 out of 5, he gets training with NPR, good for solos and just maintaining self-sufficiency. Grand Entry, not really. Acuity, I guess. I don't know of any stages that are really big on accuracy debuffs. I guess some battle challenges or whatever, but for the most part, I don't think Acuity does too much. Fast Track on Dark Void Gauge Refresh. This is where he maintains his gauge management for Gauntlet solos. Outside of the Legendary Gauntlet though, these nodes are not that impactful unless you're really bad on team speed, but that's more of a team building issue than a Cyrus issue. But if you are really tight in the sync pairs you can use, maybe it's the Battle Rally and your other tech fields are not the gauge efficient characters in the world. I don't really know the combination of tech field. Then Cyrus's gauge efficiency could be good there, right? I mean, a lot of these tech fields are really solid on gauge management. Lyra's got free moves next. Red doesn't have free moves next, but he's a 2-gauge move user, and I'm pretty sure he also accelerates gauge in electric terrain. May, I think, gets free moves next. I could be wrong. Could be misremembering. Whatever. Beat's not really the fastest, I guess, there. And then field tech, I guess. Really just looking at this. Vola's not the fastest guy in the world either. Viola's not either. Avery, I don't really remember his kid, frankly. But whatever. Okay. So yeah, I mean, I guess if you're like really tight on your team options or whatever, then Cyrus being able to buff his own gauge is relatively helpful, so that's nice. Sure. He's also got Umbral Acceleration, just more gauge management, Umbral Healing as well. This is a good 2 out of 5 node he gained. If you miss those Dark Voids or, the enemy wakes up, you time it improperly, whatever, take some damage, Cyrus can heal that back up pretty consistently as long as he's in Dark Zone, which now having the Field EX role, he's going to be in Dark Zone quite a bit more often. So having that healing could be very clutch for the most part. Very, very good, definitely. And then Dark Pulse Aggravation, again, back to that thing I was talking about earlier with like the high score event or any other stage that has resilience. You could potentially use his flinching ability over his sleep ability if you want to make that work a little bit better and, work around enemy resilience better. Though it is only aggravation 1, so that 40% flinch chance is definitely not fantastic. Right. He's also got Pinpoint Entry Pinpoint Entry 1 as well, if you want to help out with some accuracy buffs without having to rely as much on the trainer move. Though for the most part, I think you're probably going to be picking up trainer move NPR if you're in solos or duos, and you're probably going to be having a support that can help out with his self-sufficiency in any other content. So for the most part, just probably stray away from this node. Just use the trainer move maybe once, maybe twice. Get that Dark Void accuracy, you'll be fine. 3 out of 5 gets Bad Break 1, Power Play, Good Nightmare, Dark Pulse Critical Strike, Dark Pulse Good Nightmare, Sync Nodes, Umbral Power, Dark Wish NPR. Okay. Sure, Super Preparation's not great. Power Play is good for his Sync Nuke. Good Nightmares for DPS, right, sorry. But either way, he's got Power Play as well as the innate 100% multiplier for having Dark Zone activated. 220% total nuking multipliers is not fantastic by today's standards, but it is still good, it is still respectable, and it will still be able to do damage. There's no doubt about that, especially off of his quite high special attack, and overall everything else he's got going for him with the sleep spam and whatnot. This is respectable enough for a nuke. No, not too much to worry about there, in my opinion. Good Nightmare and Dark Pulse Good Nightmare and Dark Pulse Critical Strike 2, these are options for DPS, right? Making Dark Pulse do actual damage. I'm not sure really how much use this will have because this, the ability to switch between using Dark Void and using Dark Pulse is not fantastic. Like, because the most content you're going to be using Dark Pulse, Cyrus will be working with 2 allies, right? 3v3 content. So you'll be putting the enemy to sleep, then queuing up Dark Pulse, and then probably queuing up your moves with your other allies, just because of how turn order should work and how long sleep lasts, right? Because sleep lasts about 2.5 seconds nowadays, unless the enemy has no mitigation, which is extremely rare. So trying to maintain sleep and then also trying to do damage while the enemy is still asleep is a little hard. So you really got to kind of worry about that. I would just mostly try and focus on empowering Cyrus's nuking ability and his probably debuff ability, if anything, before I would try to actually empower his Dark Pulse damage. But that's just what I would do. And of course there is content where you can't do that because of, resilience and whatnot and sleep immunity. So in that content just in general, I probably would recommend just not even bringing Cyrus, or maybe building around that in a different way where you may be focusing on Dark Pulse's flinches instead of trying to actually do damage and have the enemy be asleep for that. I don't know, whatever. Umbral Power for a 30% multiplier, that pretty much falls under the same boat here. They're trying to get you to maintain some form of like Dark Pulse damage, though again, his big thing is sleep, and sometimes that conflicts. Though Umbral Power and Dark Pulse Critical Strike, very far away nodes is also another problem. These nodes are very far away from each other, but under those conditions, without having to mess with sleep at all, it could be good damage, right? That's 50% total multipliers on Dark Pulse. That could be decent if you want to build for that again. Bad Break 1, it's a 20% chance now for effectively double debuffs. It's kind of like Classic Elisa's ability, though she already debuffs 5 stats, so it's very different as well at the same time. But I mean, it's a solid node to pick up. Though for the most part, you're probably going to skip out on Bad Break 1. And that's the 3 out of 5 grid for Cyrus. In my opinion, mostly focus on building his nuke, so Power Play and the sync nodes, and probably focus on like his sleep, maybe self-sufficiency, so training with NPR could be good, maybe grand entry, depends on what your support is, frankly. You're probably going to be picking up grand entry anyway if you want to go for power play. If you're not going to go for power play, then maybe training with NPR for you. I don't know, something like this is good. Umbral Healing's good. It really depends on the content, because if you're going to go for like the Legendary Gauntlet, then stuff like training with NPR, power play, probably Dark Pulse Fast Track and the Dark Pulse Move Gauge refreshes. Sorry, not Dark Pulse, Dark Void gauge refreshes, stuff you're going to go for. Umbral Healing is probably a new node that's going to be very valuable to pick up. Dark Wish NPR could be good, to maintain that Umbral Healing. You could also go Sync nodes. You could also go Umbral Acceleration for the extra gauge management. However you really want to build it, I think Cyrus works out pretty well. And then again, it really just depends at this point. And this is with +6 energy here, so that's nice. That's nice to have. You could also just build out without +6 energy and just skip out on the Sync node, because in the Gauntlet, I think Cyrus's power ceiling's high enough to warrant not even using the Sync nodes. But outside of the Gauntlet, and again, it really just depends how you're going to be using Cyrus. If you're going to be using him as a sleep spammer, then maybe you'll want to go for the Bad Break 1, the power play. If you're going to be nuking, right, go for maybe the max nuke. Dark Wish NPR if you're going to try and sustain your allies with Dark Zone. However you want to play, Cyrus has got quite a few ways, which is nice. Sure. At 4 to 5, you get Soften Up 1. I'd say this is not really that great. This doesn't really matter in the Gauntlet, as you're just going to, they'll just pretty much, at least I think so, you'll pretty much just be cycling another Sync cycle anyway. I mean, whatever. It already takes quite a few cycles for Cyrus to do what he needs to do. Debut Team Sleep, putting all enemies to sleep on entry. This is the same as using Dark Void. I don't think these nodes are of any value for the most part, and this is not good outside of the Legendary Gauntlet either, because he's single target anyway. He's good. He doesn't have the same thing where strikes do, where they have to hit 3 enemies. He only hits 1, so there's a far lower chance that he's going to be failing that crit compared to where strikers have 3 chances to fail their crit. So that's why I just don't really see too much value in Soften Up 1. Though I guess if you want to skip out on some RNG, you can do that. Sure. And if you want to do that, I guess there's your grid for it. Sure, why not? He's got use status, special boost 9, increasing special moves next when using a status move. This is a pretty fun strategy I was thinking about whenever I saw his initial tiles initially, is that you can spam Dark Void. It doesn't need to be successful, by the way. You just have to use the move. So you can use Dark Void 10 times, even if it fails like half of those or more, right? And then you got yourself +10 special moves next. You can launch a Dark Pulse that is +10 special moves next boosted for some funny nuclear damage. Probably easier to showcase that than to actually explain it, but I mean, basically just, get Cyrus to max stats, get the Dark Zone up, whatever, by whatever method. Use Dark Void 10 times, make sure the enemy's asleep, probably build up good Nightmare nodes, as well as the Crit Strike nodes, Umbral Power, whatever, maximize the amount of damage you can do with Dark Pulse, get yourself that +10 special moves next, make sure the enemy's asleep, hit Dark Pulse. It's going to do a hell of a lot of damage. Is it effective? Probably not, but it will be funny. Big numbers galore. And then he's got Dark Zone Extension 3. This is also a good node. 30% extension on Dark Zone is nice, especially on top of the Field EX roll. Will make it last a lot longer. Not as long as Red's Electric Terrain, but still really long Dark Zone extension, so that's nice. I'd say 5 out of 5 is worth it for the Dark Zone extension. Could be worth playing around with this node as well if you want to go for that big funny Dark Pulse, +10 special moves next boosted damage, but that's really just up to you. And how would I build that grid? I'm not sure. Again, it really depends what you're going for. Dark Zone extension is really, really worth picking up, I would say, for the most part. It doesn't have to be picked up, and also, again, in Legendary Gauntlet, stuff like that, and stuff like going for Dark Wish NPR, if it's even needed, is pretty average, pretty par for the course, I guess. So that's where Dark Zone extension might not be as helpful, but it still can be helpful for sure, so that's nice. But either way, it really just depends how you want to use Cyrus and how you want to build his grid and whatnot. It really is variable across a lot of content to me, but that's all I've got to say for the most part. Cyrus and Akari are both still great units, especially with Cyrus's fair tiles. It's definitely helped him out a lot in his different options and what he can do. So that's definitely really good. And good luck on your summons if you are going to be going for them. They're both good for the high score event. They're both good even outside of the high score event. They're good for Stadium. They're good for the Legendary Gauntlet. Both of them are actually really excellent in the Gauntlet, Akari and Cyrus together. So if you are a big, you want to start ranking in the Legendary Gauntlet, then probably try picking up at least a copy of both of these guys, because they are good, or at least drop a few gems or something if you want to try at least get one of them, because I think it will be pretty valuable. And even again, outside of that, they are good in other content too, especially the high score event again, where they are, being rerun for. Stadium, of course, they're going to be good in. Cyrus's sleep spam is stupidly cheese in the Battle Rally and the Champion Stadium. I don't think they're both ultimate battle killers. I really don't. Akari can probably be fine, like against, Duroc or maybe some other lower tier stages like Lucy, but I think for the most part, they don't really meet many of the gimmick requirements for the Legendary Gauntlet, especially because Cyrus is completely shut down by enemy resilience. So that's fun, but whatever. I'll see y'all later. I hope you all enjoyed. Good luck on your summons. Good luck on the high score event. I'll see y'all later, and I hope you all enjoyed. Again, as I just said, whatever.